Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Libra, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of September 2025. I forgot what year I was in there. Does your birthday season start this month? It does. Happy birthday season for you, incoming at least. Anyway, I'm using the Tower of the Divine for you today. I picked this up while I was away and it's really quite extraordinary. I like it very much. So, things to tell you before the reading begins. If it resonates with you and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end via, I think it's the first link in the description box below. You're looking for the link that takes you to Selfie, anyhow. Or alternatively, you can come over to Circle. Circle is my private community, which is called the Order of the Phoenix. And I think it really does fucking live up to its name. There you can get access to all of the extended content for no extra cost beyond the membership fee. Hang out with an extraordinary group of people, and we have newbies and practitioners alike in all sorts of modalities, which is amazing. Really, really cool. And we run classes over there. So if that's something that might be of interest to you, you know what to do with that link. So, Libra, let's flip this around and see what's going on with you. Could I have, please, 3 cards for Libra? Okay. Let's see what's going on with Libra. Right, so we have the 4 of Swords in your recent past. That is a Libra card right there. What about current energy, please, for Libra? Energy for Libra. A reversal. We have the Queen of Cups reversed. There was another sign who got Queen of Cups reversed. I can't remember who it was. Or it might have been the weekly energy reading that I did for Circle people. Anyway, what about what's coming towards Libra, please, for September? It's drifted over there. Give me a second while I retrieve it. Oh, what do we have? We have the 7 of Swords reversed. Very interesting. At the bottom of the deck, we have the Devil. It's interesting, there was an intensity this morning when I was connecting with your energy. There was an intensity that was immediately fucking apparent. And I think the word anxiety would probably be overplaying the feeling, but there was certainly an increasing awareness of something. Now, you will notice that there were 3 cards that fell out to the right here. Ordinarily, I'm not. I have a fairly arbitrary rule that says, you know, if they fall out to the right, they've fallen out. Apart from when that doesn't apply, which happens, you know, quite a lot in the tarot. Anywho. So let's have a look. We've got Justice. There you are, Libra. We've got the 2 of Cups and we've got the 4 of Cups. Now, this would suggest to me that there's issues of relationships are really coming to the fore. I would say issues around the value of certain relationships is coming to the fore. I mean, it makes what we're seeing here make a lot of sense when we take these clarifying cards down here. And there's something really quite defining about this moment for you. I don't want to overstate it, but I do feel like there is a change of direction here for you around some fairly principal relationships that you hold. Because, I mean, to go from the 2 of Cups to the 4 of Cups isn't a terribly comfortable jump. The 4 of Cups is a card that I have all sorts of associations with. For me, it's about rejection. It's about rejecting, the act of rejecting. Sometimes it can speak to abandonment issues and all sorts of things. I mean, here we could see a realization that certain relationships that we thought were very solid might actually be something in the order of trauma bonds. And I say that specifically because the Devil is here. Now, what do we see in the Devil? We're not actually seeing it in this card today, but, you know, the generally accepted depiction of the Devil, it has 2 people on it. And those 2 people are bound in some sort of way, right? Trauma bonds, maybe even at its worst, Libra, and I really hate to say this, I mean, maybe you are involved with someone who is displaying narcissistic traits. So the Queen of Cups reversed, the Devil, 2 of Cups, 4 of Cups. I mean, it might speak to all of those things. The one thing that we can absolutely take for certain, though, is that relationships are highlighted this month. And I do think, without jumping too far ahead, because we will flesh all of this out, that the 7 of Swords in reverse here is simultaneously both seeing the truth of the moment, and I would say in your case it's like seeing the that rather unpleasant shadow that's being cast there for what it actually is. But it's also a realization that there's a risk here that you actually aren't ready to take. Oh, ready's the wrong word. You aren't prepared to take. In that way that, you know, sometimes when we see things we can't, hopefully all the time, when we see things we can't unsee them. That seems to be what's being laid bare for you this month, and it feels kind of shocking. But at the same time, it's not something that can be left. There's not something to be maintained here. There's something to pull away from. Now, I'm going to pull some clarifiers out. I am going to keep these 3 cards out here as well because I do feel like they're informative to the reading. So let's just make a little bit of space so we can get the clarifiers in too. Tell me about this 4 of Swords. Interesting. 2 of Swords, Ace of Pentacles. About the Queen of Cups in reverse. Right, we have the Tower, we have the Devil, we have the 2 of Cups, we have the Hierophant. Like, this is incredibly supportive of how I felt this reading going anyway. Tell me about the 7 of Swords, please. Wow, that one pirouetted. Wheel of Fortune. 8 of Pentacles, right. Oh, fuck my life. Right, so, Libra, I was going to say something. And that something was this. There is a trifecta of cards within the tarot, major arcana. When I see them, we know that life is about to take a really quite incredible turn, right? It's going off in a considerably different direction to where we thought it was going. I've lost my selenite. Excuse me, I'm going to play with my lighter instead. Oh, pencil. That's even better. And I was going to say, you have 2 of those 3 cards, and generally whenever, you know, 2 of that 3 cards come up in combination, then you know, it's a lot of very intense energy in a particular direction that is off. But you also have the Judgment card, because these cards are Justice and Wheel of Fortune, and then the Judgment card came out, right? That's the trifecta for me. That's all 3 cards in one reading. Additionally, we have the Devil twice, and we have the Tower. This is the start of your season, certainly later on in this month. And perhaps it's important that we recognise that on the eve of your season starting, we have a partial solar eclipse in the sign of Virgo. Now, I don't know, obviously, where Virgo sits in your chart. It's happening at 29 degrees, I believe. But I can tell you, if you're a Libra ascendant, then this is 12th house stuff for you. But you might be a 4th house Libra sun, in which case Virgo would represent your 3rd house. Sorry, I spaced out there for a second, right? So you're going to have to take this information and apply it to, you know, whatever area of your life it's operating in, by reference to that. If indeed the eclipse is part of this, and I can't really look at these cards without seeing some sort of fairly significant ending for you, Libra, around a particular relationship, or maybe a particular set of relationships, and then ignore the fact that this eclipse is happening right on the eve of your season, right? That would be remiss of me. So eclipses are like big new starts, but in order to have some sort of big new start, we've got to close out what is old, what is past, what is holding us back. You know, whatever is representative of the old cycle versus the new cycle that we want to go into. And there are realizations here around relationships. And when I talk about relationships, we're not necessarily talking about your husband or your wife. We may not even be talking about a parent or a child, right? It could be business partnership. It could be your best friend. It could be all sorts of relationships. But there's an intimacy there. There's a closeness there. But I think this whole month is about recognizing what that is based on. And when you see what it is based on, and I think specifically for you, Libra, it's probably because you've been growing, evolving, as hopefully everybody has been doing in 2025. I would say the evidence suggests it hasn't been a universal thing. And realizing that this relationship is incompatible with the person that you are now. I think there's some kind of grotty energy under here as well. Whether that grotty energy is yours, Libra, with respect, and I'm not trying to be judgmental about it, but like recognizing that there is a part of you that has been very unhealed, that's been getting something out of a relationship that now you can see it with fresh eyes, looks kind of toxic, and you're like, oh, holy shit, like I definitely participated in this. Or whether it's recognizing, you know, some really hardcore toxic behavior in somebody else. It doesn't feel to me like this has got any kind of longevity to it. It doesn't matter how long this relationship has been going. It really doesn't. It's time for it to end, I think. And I understand how that is going to affect you, Libra, but I also think that it will affect you more if you don't do it. Like the Devil and the Judgment card, just quite aside from anything else that's on the table, could speak to the push-pull of a situation where the well, actually, it was not even a push-pull really. It's a stasis versus movement. It's a slavery versus autonomy, or slavery versus sovereignty sort of situation. Because the Devil card represents everything that keeps us stuck, trapped, restricted. You know, those kind of difficult energies. Powerlessness, quite often. But the Judgment card is an ultimate card of reclaiming sovereignty, because it's all about what you choose. Now, if you have been subconsciously choosing something that has been very bad for you, there's an opportunity presenting here this month to not only see that, but also consciously choose to do something different. And the universe is right here. God, source, creator, whatever your terminology is for it. This is not just a supported movement. It's orienting you more towards your destiny than you are currently directed. This is a big deal. It's a really big deal, and I want to make clear to you that I understand how big of a deal this is, because for some of you it will be marriages breaking down. I think what seems to be apparent to me from this is the fact that whatever relationship it is, it has been around for a very long time. Now, interestingly enough, one of the things that I've noticed in my own readings for me, and also the readings that I've been doing for all of the signs, is that there is something to which I keep returning, and it is this idea of first principles, which is to say, kind of stripping everything down and analysing whether there are things that I have assumed are unchangeable, intractable, all that sort of thing, right? And it kind of, I've just been trying to cope rather than going, does this actually need to be here? Relationships have formed a part of that for sure, but lots of other things too. Now, when we get to the point where we start analysing those base assumptions that we take for granted, or we assume are so immovable, that we don't even interrogate that, or we don't spend any time in mental challenge of it, what we do is end up at a place and we don't quite know how we got there, and more often than not we don't really know how to get out of there either. But if we take things back to first principles and go, well, what if it was not like that? What if this didn't have to be my husband or my wife or my business partner or my best friend, or even a sibling, a child, a parent? You know, what if I didn't have to put up with all of that? What if there is an underlying toxicity, which I am completely fucking oblivious to for the longest time, because it's always been there. And I can see that very much playing out here in the reading that that I'm seeing here, right, laying out. So, I mean, fuck me, I've been talking for 14 minutes, I haven't even got to the cards yet, right? So, recent past, Four of Swords, Two of Swords, Ace of Pentacles. Now, in the Tower of the Divine, this Four of Swords takes a very different conceptual approach to the energy of the Four of Swords as we would usually understand it, right? And that's not uncommon. It's one of the reasons why having multiple decks sometimes can be quite a useful thing, right? We've got a different angle on something. The Four of Swords can mean variously healing. It can talk about taking a break, taking a step back, even taking a fucking holiday from something, right? There's a state of removal generally with that. And the removal is not chucking things out of our lives. It's actually us stepping back, us withdrawing from a situation so that we can kind of work through the information that came via the Three of Swords so that we can integrate that into our idea of reality, right? What it actually is, right? It's new information, we've integrated it, and then from there, in this state of rest, where we are recovering, where we are healing, then we can move forward. But this one here, it's not really giving that vibe to me, right? We've got another card that talks about restriction. We don't see the depiction of mental peace that is usually associated with this card, right? Sometimes the Four of Swords can talk about meditation and things like that, right? This is very uncomfortable. We've got three swords at the bottom of the card. The final sword is actually going through the jaw of the wolf, which is bound. It puts everything that we understand about the Four of Swords rather on its head. Even to the degree that I might say that this might fit more as a Three of Swords energy than a Four. Nevertheless, it's Four for a reason. So Four is foundational, right? It's the basis upon which our thinking is founded for the rest of the cycle. And here, there's something very, very uncomfortable going on. I would say that you have felt to me, Libra, like you haven't been able to articulate something. It's just like something's been gnawing away at you. Something has been stealing your voice from you, your ability to be able to articulate the truth. But genuinely, I don't think that you know what it is. I don't think you've been able to put your finger on exactly what it is, because we've got this Two of Swords here. Now, the Two of Swords for me is a state of almost willful ignorance. That's the shortcut that I've used for this card for many, many years. Not because I'm saying that people are being consciously ignorant all the time. I'm saying that somewhere in your head, a defense mechanism is at play that is stopping you seeing reality for as it actually is. Now, when this card shows up, sometimes there are decisions to be made, and this card can indicate a refusal to even engage with the idea of making this decision. I think the fact that we have the water in the background and the moon in the background says to us that we've got that there's subconscious intuitive information there that we don't want to look at. And I think we don't want to look at it because if we did, we would see that actually once seen, it can't be unseen, and the decision is already made, right? So it's kind of like holding ourselves in a stasis, being like, if I can't see it, then it's not there. If I think that this is only about one sword or the other, then it's not about anything else. And I can hold myself in this state without looking at anything that is particularly confrontational or that's going to affect my mindset about anything, right? It can be a very uncomfortable tension to hold, and yet so many of us do it all the time, right? If you're familiar with the concept of shadow work, then you will probably understand the energy that I'm talking about here, right? So far from being peaceful, this seems to have you building the rest of your sword cycle, which is all about the workings of your mind, communication, your intellect, your rational thinking, you know, your logic even. And it's coming from a place where you can't say anything. And you don't know why you can't say anything. Now, I think the fact that you couldn't say anything about it for the longest time has not been a problem, because you were holding that tension, that state of tension, right? And it was all happening in the background, and you weren't even consciously thinking about it. Maybe you were not my circus, not my monkeys, or it's not really down to me to have an opinion about this. Or maybe for some of you, the idea that having an opinion might be a judgmental take, and you're not about that life, so I'm not going to judge other people's choices or judge anything else, right? Or maybe some of it, again, back to shadow stuff. If some of the things that you haven't been able to speak on or respond to or whatever have been unpleasant things that have come via other people, then maybe it is that some part of you felt like they were justified in saying that, right? Things like toxic cycles of guilt and shame and whatnot playing their way out. Now, all of this happens in the background of everybody all the fucking time, and it's only really conscious investigation that gets us to a point where we see that. Now, here's the interesting thing. I think what I was saying before about it's starting to gnaw away at you, chomping on your ankles. I don't think you've been able to ignore it anymore. I think it's something is trying to get through from your subconscious to your conscious mind, and it's been like a boil under the surface, right? And the reason why this Ace of Pentacles is so interesting, and actually is the spark that brings in all of this huge major arcana energy, it's taking the time to look at something, to invest your attention on it and go, why does it feel so fucking uncomfortable? What is going on in me? Maybe some of you have cycled around and decided that it was all your fault anyway. Right, whatever this is, it's probably because you're being too sensitive or too this or too the other, right? But I don't feel like that conclusion that you've come to, it's not enough. It hasn't lanced the boil in the way that you expected it to. And now feels like you're digging and digging and digging away at it and being like, what is this thing that I cannot see? What is this thing that is stopping me from speaking a truth? What is it? What is my truth? Maybe it could be as much as that, right? So this has all been going on in your recent past. And then we come to your current energy, and holy shit, Queen of Cups reversed, not generally given to be a good card. I mean, there are instances in which the Queen of Cups being in the upright isn't necessarily a good card, right? But that's highly dependent on context. Generally speaking, the Queens help us decode what it is, right? That we feel, we think, we do, right? It's the very internalized process of making sense of something, right? So the Queen of Swords, your queen, will help you work out what you think. She'll take all of the information at her disposal and she'll process it all, and she'll be like, this is true, this is not, just kind of putting all the emotional stuff to one side and just being like working on the facts and the evidence of the matter. The Queen of Cups' job is to tell you is to show you what you're feeling, is to help you make sense of what you're feeling. Now, the fact that she's inverted here can mean one of two things. There's a realization that your emotions are a muddy mess. That's possible. That could be what it is. It could be the realization that you have no experience of the Queen of Cups in your life from someone that you would expect it to be coming from, right? Sometimes the Queen of Cups in reverse can be very cold, very withdrawn. Sometimes in situations that are, say, for example, codependent, you can see the Queen of Cups coming up in reverse as an overinvestment of emotional energy. Now, it could be that actually all three of those apply simultaneously in different aspects. But this Tower card, definitely increasing the emphasis on the trifecta of fate, destiny cards that we've seen show up here already. The Tower is like all of your preconceptions, all of your assumptions, the foundation on which you've based your life, shaking so fucking hard that the scales fall from your eyes in some way or another. When the Tower rips through your life, you cannot see things the same way. Quite literally, when the Tower comes along, we see the devil and all of his works for what it actually is. We see where we've been working with illusion. We see where we've been working with toxicity. And we have assumed it was something else. We have thought it was something else. We have felt it was something else. And what is this area? It's the area of relationships. Now, like I said, this could be one specific person. This could actually be a group of people, possibly, but it would be very, very close relationship, right? Because the Two of Cups is all about intimacy. So just as you would have a different level of intimacy with a business partner versus a customer that came in, you've got a different level of intimacy with your husband versus, hopefully, Bob down at number 64, right? Hopefully. Something's not quite right if that's not true. Anyway, we've got an established relationship, something that has been around for a very, very long time, that is effectively unchanged, right? There's no development, there's no growth here. There's something that's kind of rigidly held its own, which, absent these cards, as I said, I would interpret as a very solid, very strong relationship. And maybe that's the way that you've been seeing it. But the fact is that these are coming out in context of the Queen of Cups in reverse, the Tower and the Devil. There is something illusory here, Libra. There's something where maybe you have filled in the gaps on what this relationship is and what it actually means. But it's not reciprocal. In fact, I would say that the balance here is very firmly in the other person's favour, and dare I say it, there's a possibility of manipulation. I don't want to be too dramatic about it, but there's something actually kind of abusive about the way that I'm seeing this, Libra. And I don't think that it's you, not with these cards here. I think this is someone very close to you. And the scales are falling from your eyes. This is not what you thought it was. Now, the word narcissist gets bandied an awful lot around on the internet, and in a lot of cases I don't think that it's appropriate. Full-blown narcissists are less common than the internet would have you believe. But people demonstrating very low vibration narcissistic traits are plentiful. Plentiful. And I think you've just discovered someone who has been that consistent force in your life for the longest time. And the problem is, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Maybe you've discovered evidence of dishonesty. Maybe you've discovered elements of, situations where you've been taken advantage of, where you've been manipulated, right? Where you didn't see it at the moment that you were in it, but now you're looking back at it and you're like, oh, in light of new information that's come through. Where's my? I'll just get my. It's a fucking yeah. So we've got the Two of Cups again. We've got the Seven of Swords actually showing up for the second time, but in the instance of what we're talking about right here, it's showing up in the upright. which in the context of everything that we're seeing, plus the Four of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck here, says to me that this is all coming as a massive revelation to you, and a very unpleasant one. Now, this is probably going to rock some people's shit a little bit, and I apologise for that. And what I'm about to say, I want to caveat with, there is no judgment here. But if we are going to be radically honest, some part of you has been a match for what you have experienced. Now, I'm not victim blaming, before anybody jumps in the comments and says that. But I do think that the possibility of some sort of wound around abandonment, some sort of wound around rejection, has been the thing that has stopped you from seeing what has been a toxic relationship in your midst. In Libra, we have all fucking been there. 100%. We have all fucking been there, right? There's dishonesty in this relationship. Full stop. Like, just it's dishonest. And whether there's a single event that is bringing this to your attention, or whether it is just a cascading realization, and that hits us sometimes. You know, people like the word download and shit like that. I fucking hate that. I really do. But sometimes there's just a piece of information or a thought that connects with another thought that shows you something that you couldn't see before. And I think where you are right now is doing that. There's a lump here, Libra. Like the way that I described it when I was talking over here about like a boil, the imagery is really, really strong. It's like something that's come up under the skin, and it's like it's not come to a head yet, but it's got to the point where you started kind of agitating at it and trying to, you know, there's something here that's not quite right, and it feels like it's coming to it's coming to its peak. It's coming to a head, quite literally. And now you can see it for what it is. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Because to choose to do nothing at this point is probably a really bad idea, right? If we continue with the imagery of the boil, right? We can't really look at that and go, oh, it's fine, it'll go away on its own. It's too big, it's too uncomfortable now at this point. It's got to be lanced. Whatever's in there needs to come out. We need to be able to wash it clean and start the healing process. Because I feel like you thought you were healing. And realistically, looking back, Libra, you probably have. Because I think without the healing, albeit incomplete, you wouldn't have started to notice what you feel so uncomfortable about. And then we come into September. Seven of Swords reversed generally indicates truth, and certainly where this one would be indicating deceit, this one is indicating truth. But we have the Wheel of Fortune bringing in unexpected, unexpected changes of fortune. Now, I will be realistic with you, Libra. Like, the Wheel of Fortune does not and has never indicated that everything's going to be wicked from this point on. Like, yeah, cool, you know. There are many instances where good fortune is implied, you know. We see that happening. But there are as many instances as the wheel is turning down and we feel like our fortunes are being crushed, right? We're going into a kind of more negative period of time. But this is what I would say to you. The Wheel of Fortune is essentially a kind of fairly neutral force. But the fact that we've got justice showing up, and you are a Libra, and so this is part of your identity, and it is about the pursuit of truth as much as about as it is about the more Venusian themes of comfort and enjoying spending time together with people. Right, that this is a very sharp edge to Libra. Fairness, truth, justice, balance, like these are all part of your makeup too. Whilst this coming month may feel very uncomfortable, I feel like it's giving you something that has been absent on the run up to this. And that is to say, fairness and the awareness that fairness has not been at play. Right? An awareness of the imbalance of the relationship, an awareness perhaps of the loss of sovereignty, the loss of autonomy, the way that you've been manipulated, the way that you've probably straight up been lied to, I would say, in some of these instances here. But you've got the Judgment card. There is an opportunity for sovereignty here. There's an opportunity for you to work to the higher vibrations of your energy and say, no, my integrity, my care for myself will not permit me to continue this way with this person moving forwards. Now, I feel like the fact that the Devil is showing up twice and the fact that the Two of Cups has been all over this it is really pointing to a very close relationship that you have. It's very close. Two of Cups is here 3 times. This is not someone from your wider circle. This is someone in your inner circle. Close family, close friends, close associates. It's something that's been going on for quite a while, and if it is, it could be anything from this person just fucking treads you into the dirt over and over again and you don't even notice it. Like, this person has such a detrimental effect on your self-esteem and you didn't even notice it. Right up to this person's been deceitful as fuck, and now you're about to see the extent of the deceit and you can't see the situation in the same way, right? There's a whole spectrum of experiences between internal shifts, internal realizations of incompatibility because somebody is making you feel less than the full force of who you are. Right up to criminal level deceit, let's put it that way. The neutrality of the Wheel of Fortune is best understood, to my mind at least, as the wheel turning, taking us towards our destiny, taking us towards the path that we're supposed to be on, particularly true when we see the Tower card showing up there, which may, in the first instance, feel deeply uncomfortable. I didn't want to go that way, I didn't want to do that thing. Well, okay. But 2 years down the line from here, you're going to be very, very glad that it happened, right? But the number of times, the number of examples I have of that in my own life is absolutely obscene. Because the Wheel of Fortune is an operation of the underlying intelligence of the universe. Right? It's a guidance mechanism. It's a curveball thrown in that demands some sort of response to it. The Judgment card is demanding some sort of decision from you. The Justice card is demanding balance be brought in by you. But it is also speaking to the inherent experience of being Libra, right? The energy of being you. We're talking about your identity, right? And we've got the Eight of Pentacles showing up here, where the work is. So it's interesting how the meaning almost comes full circle across the entire reading, right? As we start off with the Four of Swords and what the Four of Swords is supposed to mean, which is that we have taken a bit of time, we've taken a step back, we have taken the wisdom that has come through the Three of Swords via Saturn, and as uncomfortable as it is, we now have a set of truths to work with that we didn't have before, right? So we're taking a little bit of a step back, giving ourselves some space to incorporate this into our perception, and then we can move forwards. We don't have that energy with that Four of Swords. But when you come over here, the combination of the Seven of Swords, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Eight of Pentacles to me is creating what should be a standard interpretation of the Four of Swords. Can you see how this works? Because we've got a truth, we've got something being revealed here, not being hidden anymore. We've got the Wheel of Fortune putting this energy on steroids. And this energy is being put on steroids because this represents a turning point in your life, Libra. Whether that turning point is simply removing yourself from the presence of somebody who does you down all the time, right? And then, what we can expect to be an improvement in the experience of being you that follows thereafter, where your confidence is not being, and your self-esteem is not being crushed into smithereens by someone. Or the revelation of a way in which you have been deceived. That now either in the resolution of that or the conclusion of that puts you in a better space and opens you up to go in a direction that you were not able to go to before. I hope that you're following what I'm saying here, because it's like the energy of the Four of Swords wouldn't quite be enough. Now we've got the force of the universe pushing and going, put this experience on steroids. Make Libra really, really fucking get the message so that Libra can absolutely turn 90 degrees from where they are now. There's a shove from the universe here for you, God, Source, Creator. But there's also an advanced level processing that is available to you too, that I think is going to make a lot of things make sense in retrospect. Will that lead to an increase in your self-worth? Yeah, I think so. Longer term, perhaps, may not initially, right? But I feel like you're actually wanting to work through the issues of this rather than spiraling about it. It's kind of like, right, problem solving mode, both internally and externally, And this is a Virgo card as well, which is interesting. Somewhat very karmic here for you, Libra. And I think it's good, but I don't think in the first instance it's going to feel terribly comfortable. But I feel like your Queen of Swords is going to latch on very, very quickly to problem solving this rather than spiraling about it. This is really interesting. This is a very big month for you, Libra, and it's so interesting that it should be coinciding with your birthday season 2. Right, another revolution around the sun, another year on in your numerological personal cycle. This is really big. It's really big, and I think once you see it, you can't unsee it, but once you see it, I think you'll also realise the extent to which you've been held back up until this point in a way that you didn't really see before. Like, this feels like a big breaking free, and you're ready for it 100%, even though you haven't even realised that that's what it was. So I'm going to go to the extended now. If you would like to join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. Like I said, you can do that on Selfie. You can come join us on Circle. You can come, hang out, take classes, do whatever you like. I'd be delighted to see you in either place, but if that's not your bag, that's absolutely fine. I understand that. It's a huge month, and I would treat it very seriously. The word that's just popped into my head is sobriety, which is very interesting. There's a very sober look that you're taking at your life. A lot of past stuff, but also where you go from here, you know? It's really interesting. Right. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.